This is sort of good news. Someone taking personal responsibility to make sure that kids aren't exposed to things that might predispose them to think, things that are toxic and not compatible with a modern society. 6 Dr. Seuss books will no longer be published because of their use of offensive imagery, according to the business that oversees the estate of the children's author and illustrator. We're gonna give you all the details. But first off, just a first glance, this, so far as I can tell, is not the result of some massive campaign. The company is choosing to do this. And why? What's the offensive content? Well, Dr. Seuss Enterprises said that it had decided last year to end publication and licensing of the books, including the first book that Dr. Seuss wrote under that name. And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street, If I Ran the Zoo as well. And then things like McElliot's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Egg Super, which I've never read, and The Cat's Quizzer. So why? What's in there? Well, and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street, a character described as a Chinaman has lines for eyes, wears a pointed hat, and carries chopsticks and a bowl of rice. Editions published in the 1970s changed the reference from a Chinaman to a Chinese man, one of the early instances of cancel culture. That's what they would say. In If I Ran the Zoo, 2 characters from the African island of Yurka are depicted as shirtless, shoeless, and resembling monkeys. But really fast, like you won't be able to see these very soon in the actual books, so they won't be published. But I want you to know what we're talking about here. So this is just 2 images from If I Ran a Zoo. So here is the depiction of Asians, and then here is the actual one from the African island of Yurka. These are not edge cases. These are not sort of questionable. These are, if you had Steve Bannon draw different races, this is what he would produce. If what Tucker Carlson dreams is those images. This is the most explicit racialized stereotypes you can imagine. And we're gonna have more on this, but JR, what do you think about their decision to stop selling these books?
I don't know. I avoid tweeting sometimes just because it's a bit of a tiring exercise. But I was gonna point out yesterday when all this was going down and people were upset, and canceling Dr. Seuss. I have a 9-year-old kid, and then as he was a lot younger, I read a lot more Dr. Seuss to him, and he was reading it and stuff. I've got the Mulberry Street one, and I think the zoo one. I already have them. They're there. People who love Dr. Seuss and love all the things that he did, and the stories and the childhood memories of reading it when you were growing up, you still have the books. So calm down, number one. Number two, Dr. Seuss, his long decomposed corpse does not care about whether or not you're canceling him, because death canceled him much longer ago than you can ever imagine. So it's okay, it's fine. He's already gone. He's not sitting there mad about this situation. So you have the books
30
already.
years ago.
Yeah, and if you want to go ahead and be upset, be upset. But to make this some kind of thing like somebody's coming after Dr. Seuss when he came after people then, I don't get it. What's gonna happen if your kid then realizes that an author from some books that some of the things that they read that they enjoyed and maybe learned some kind of reading literature from, that they got that and they can still know that author wrote and authorized horrible things. That's fine. What's your kid gonna do now? Or if your kid doesn't learn about Dr. Seuss, that's fine too, because there's children that haven't learned about Dr. Seuss and they're fine. It's just, the outrage over this is way overblown. It's fine. What's gonna happen to you if 6 of his books, not all of his books, 6 of his books that have explicit racial overtones in them, are not gonna be published anymore? That's a problem now.
Yeah, there'll still be plenty. I personally think one additional thing that it doesn't seem like anyone has considered this option. Why not change the books? Why not do different art and different characterizations and stuff? Like update them. Why not update them? There's new Dr. Seuss stuff being made. Look what Jim Carrey did. I mean, there's stuff that's being done. But anyway, so you pointed out, people who already love it already have the books, and if you didn't buy them up until now, you didn't really love it.
Exactly.
I will also say some people don't get what the big deal is. They look at that and they don't get how it's offensive. And I can say from my own personal history, I read many of these books growing up, including some of these ones. And I never got how offensive it was. And that's the problem.
Exactly.
I was a kid being given these books and thinking, oh, this is totally acceptable. there's no problem with this. That's not good. That's not, no, you don't want that. And so like absent, and then by the way, they also, the right, and we're gonna get into the right soon, they don't like disclaimers either. So if you added a page to this book that said, hey, some of this imagery and characterization totally offensive now from a like a modern sensibility. So bear that in mind. They would hate that too. So the issue fundamentally is that they don't have a problem with racism. That is the only actual explanation for what they're doing.
Absolutely.
But really fast, JR, in terms of what he did and what he thought, it's interesting because before he was a giant of children's literature, the author known as Dr. Seuss, he drew political cartoons, including some that had stereotypes caricaturing Japanese and Japanese Americans. Decades later, he said he was embarrassed by the cartoons, which he said were full of snap judgments that every political cartoonist has to make. And so he was embarrassed. So in theory, he's in support of not continuing some of these things.
Well, I mean, Dr. Seuss apparently was, he's been taken over by the left in this country. They pressured him in his grave to speak out against this. No, it's the way it always is. They'll take many people, especially ones who aren't here, and give them their own voice and tell them what they really would have believed and how they would have felt about things. By the way, this isn't like a one-off thing. Plenty of cartoonists and cartoons and things became political statements that were very racist, very based on all these things, especially in the 40s when we were fighting world wars. That's the way it was. There's propaganda push to make sure that we have this disdain for certain people that we're fighting against. It's just the way it was. I mean, if you didn't know that, just take a cursory search. Read a little bit. You know who else has been canceled?
Looney Tunes.
Bugs Bunny's been canceled. Tom and Jerry has been canceled because guess what was in those a lot of times? Racial overtones that when something exploded in someone's face, they end up looking like a dark, charred human being with big lips. That happened in all those cartoons. And if you turn on Cartoon Network or Boomerang right now, and you find yourself some old Bugs Bunny cartoons, they won't have those episodes on there. They have the other ones on there, or the ones that had those, they edit out those parts. Was it canceled? That's been happening since I was a kid. So is this a new cancel culture thing, or is this just eliminating absolute disgusting racism in old cartoons that were the sign of the time? You could even write off as that if you'd like. Oh, it's just the way people thought. It was something that we just did. We didn't realize how bad it was. Fine, say all that stuff, but don't show it to me now. And if you want to find it, you can go find the racial stuff. You can go find it. It's perfectly fine. One more thing, if you watch like, I don't know, like Coming to America. I'm thinking of a couple of Eddie Murphy movies from the 80s. And they have some nudity scenes in them every once in a while where boobs are out. Those things are cut out if you're watching it on TNT. Is that getting canceled? No, the explicit parts of these movies that we don't want to see or want our kids to catch and see are eliminated from the movies. Crazy how that works.
JR, I remember the first time, and it wasn't that long ago, that I watched Trading Places like on Amazon. I was like, I did not realize these scenes were.
You've never seen the real movie. You've never seen every scene.
And I've seen that movie 1,000 times. So
Absolutely.
Anyway, before we move to the next section, I just wanted to briefly remind people that because, as JR pointed out, he did this political stuff. Here's one cartoon that the right is not like, how dare they cancel him? In which Dr. Seuss implied that there was that the America Firsters and the Nazis shared a beard. I don't know. I think that's interesting. Here's what the stats show. Of the 2,240 identified human characters across 50 different Dr. Seuss books, 2,240, there are 45 characters of color. That is 2% of the total number of human characters. But as I continue, you'll probably end up wishing that it had been lower than 2%, because of the 45 characters, 43 exhibited behaviors and appearances that align with harmful and stereotypical or Orientalist tropes. The remaining 2 human characters are identified in the text as African, and both align with the theme of anti-blackness. It's also important to note that each of the non-white characters is male, all of them, and they are all presented in subservient, exotified, or dehumanized roles, especially in their relation to white characters. There is no non-white female character in any of the books. And maybe it's for the best that there wasn't, because God only knows what it would have looked like.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is fascinating. And as a kid, I didn't notice that. And that's the problem.
And a kid that doesn't notice it, that isn't told about what reality is, will grow up lacking a complete, entire realm of reality. It's just, and then we call those people conservatives. I'm sorry, that's too far.
Oh my God.
I'd take it back.
Okay.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.